the western tip of Canada, the city of Vancouver is the gateway to British Columbia, an enormous state that stretches over majestic landscapes. "250 miles from the Pacific coast, behind snow-capped peaks and deep volcanic gorges, lies the Okanagan Valley, a vine ecosystem recognized for the cultivation of the best grape varieties. This land, full of contrasts and riches, is spread over the fertile shores of a string of lakes, the largest of which stretches on for more than 180 miles. Despite its young wine history, winemakers have quickly taken advantage of all the magic in this corner of the world, this unique oasis in North America. South of the valley, in the most arid place in Canada, the Coverts family farm extends over an area of almost 650 acres. Owner Gene Covert descends from 4 generations of Okanagan pioneers. Every morning, he decides how to organize the day with his chief vine grower, Kern Campbell.
Okay.
Thinking about the plan today.
Yeah.
We got some cover crop experiments going on in the vineyard.
Okay.
We're gonna take a look at that. Ed's planted some vetch and lentils out there on a couple spots, so we'll check that. We'll see how well the boys did getting all the alfalfa out of there too, so just bring along a shovel and...
Oh, you have to dig a little bit up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, take a quick look at that. Drink up and go.
Gene maintains his terroir in respecting sustainable agriculture and using wild plants to enrich the soil, a natural method that favors the vine's development.
Really well.
Hey, why don't you come over here and take a look at this? The lentils here, they're not going to overwinter. Those things get rooted in there pretty deep sometimes.
Yeah.
Some of the roots, right here, there's little nodules there. That's the little colonies of bacteria that are fixing the nitrogen out of the atmosphere.
Is this one? This is the lentil here.
Yeah, that's the lentil there, and then actually behind it here, these smaller ones with the smaller leaves. The lentils here are really tough. So they can take down to like minus 25 Celsius.
Wow.
And
we're not going to get close to that cold this winter, I bet.
Well, I hope not. We'll have other problems if it gets that cold.
Yeah.
But no, that'll, so if it survives the winter, then we'll have a nice, green understory feeding our plants. The plant provides carbohydrates and food to the bacteria, so they go back and forth.
Okay.
And
well, they're looking really healthy. I can't believe that these are only 4 weeks old, especially this time of year, coming in super fast, looking really good.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these lentils and vetch are fairly. Well, I was born and raised in the Okanagan, and so it's anywhere you're from, you're very passionate about. But what I love about the Okanagan is its diversity and complexity. We have everything from lakes and mountains, and we have a plethora of wildlife. And as a farmer, we embrace that complexity and try to incorporate that into our farming. And if we do a good job of that and feed the soil, the grapes will be healthy and productive and full of flavor.
Considered sacred land by the first inhabitants of the valley, its soil's fertility is due to the presence of silt around the numerous lakes. Viticulture naturally developed along the banks. Robert Hanfield is a geologist. A member of the South Okanagan Naturalists Club, he often walks the trails overlooking the valley. Using a map, he inventories the makeup of the soil around the lakes. This data helps him better understand history and geological formation.
The Okanagan Valley is the result of two main geologic features, or could be summed up in the words fire and ice. By that, I mean fire is the volcanic rocks, volcanoes, and the ice, the glaciers. And the glaciers shaped the final end of what we see today. When the glaciers melted, receded, all that was left 10,000 years ago was absolutely bare rock. We could see still that bare rock with the striations where the ice ground and smoothed out that rock. But also as it's doing that, it's grinding the rock extremely fine, making what many people would call rock flour or silt. And that silt accumulated along the margins of the glacier in the valley and formed these silt cliffs, which very easily, with the gravel that's also on top of them, turns into soil, although a thin soil layer here, but grapes grow in that kind of soil very easily.
Viticulture began in the valley in 1859 when Charles Pandozzi, a French missionary, planted the first vines near Kelowna to make wine for Mass at the Catholic mission that he headed. Luke Whitehall, who specializes in British Columbia's wine history, locates the first vines in Okanagan, near the town of Oasis, the gateway to European settlers, primarily of French and Irish origin. His research led him to follow the footsteps of these early pioneers.
So this is the Okanagan Valley, the South Okanagan Valley right now, and it is very much a culturally very interesting place. The very first Europeans to ever come to the Okanagan came through Osoyoos. They came through this area and they traveled up the valley past that. Father Pandozzi arrived in Osoyoos first before heading up to Kelowna, or to where he ended up settling in Kelowna. Here, the very first European ever to arrive here was in 1811. He was a fur trader, and it was really just a transportation route to get from the Columbia River. After that, gold was discovered, and there's an influx of miners from the United States that showed up here in about 1849, 1850. And they used that same route to get to the interior for a short time. And then around that time, to feed the miners, then of course we had to have ranchers who had huge cattle ranches, which is what a lot of this land was.
Attached to their history, the inhabitants of the valley have preserved vestiges of the past, a testimony to the presence of the first settlers.
Okay, so we're here at the Haynes Ranch. Basically everything here is one of the oldest buildings, one of the oldest structures really in the Okanagan that's left. It's surrounded by a wilderness protection area that keeps that shows you really what the Okanagan used to be like when there were no vineyards here, when there were no, we've got vineyards over on that side and there's farms in the middle. Before all that, it was really just sagebrush, a lot of black sage.
150 years after the first plantings, the vine takes a major place in the valley and occupies 40% of the soil. Sharing water for agriculture has become essential. And Kelly Garcia, a member of the Okanagan Water Board, studies the latest equipment in Jean's field as part of an outreach program.
Let's go. I'd like to learn more about your irrigation practices here.
Yeah, so like irrigation scheduling, I do that myself, and based on the needs of the plants. And so what we attempt to do is let them sort of get a little bit stressed, and then we cycle the water to continually drive the roots deeper. So as over time they'll need less and less water.
Excellent. Yeah, it's those type of irrigation practices that'll really benefit you in the future when we're facing longer, drier summers with climate change and competing interests for water in the valley.
Yeah, that's well, from the organic and sort of biodynamic side, my philosophy is that the vineyard should essentially be self-reliant, and so we're trying to train it to be that.
Excellent.
The Okanagan Valley is the hottest in Canada. Most farmers adapt by drilling wells that are fed by groundwater. The Covert family follows this practice and irrigates almost 450 acres using this system.
So now you mostly use groundwater. Was there ever a time that you used the Okanagan River as your water source?
Yeah, back when I was really young, we still had a backup system that came right out of the river.
Oh, I see. I would really like to see your the old irrigation system where you used to withdraw from the river.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we can go down and take a look at that.
Great.
In the 1920s, the valley's pioneers drew water heavily from lakes and rivers, sometimes investing in titanic projects to irrigate the more than 2,200 cultivated acres. In 1953, Jean's father drew water from the Okanagan River, but in 1995, the government imposed limits on pumping in order to preserve the ecosystem in the region.
So I see that your old pump house is right here on the stream bank of the river.
Yeah, we moved our new one, new wells, about half a kilometer around the corner there.
Oh, okay.
Well back from the riparian zone. So yeah, that's our old pump house and well. And then where we used to take water from the river was this one here.
Okay.
It has a, watch the wasp there. There's, but yeah, this cistern was connected under here out to the river.
Yeah, agricultural use is definitely a large use of water in the valley, but you know, we all need to do our part. We've got many different interests, and water is a very precious resource, so it's nice to see the work that you're doing here at Covert Farms.
Yeah, and the best, you know, we can't take it for granted.
That's right, yeah, definitely.
The success of the crops depends on the implementation of a precise irrigation plan, but also on the benevolence of the climate. To the south of the Okanagan, temperatures can reach 113 degrees Fahrenheit. It's here, on the sacred lands of the Oasis Indians, that the natives have taken up the challenge of growing vines on a semi-arid desert territory stretching over almost 1,000 acres. Justin Hall is the pride of his community. He is the first enologist of a native wine estate in North America, the NKMIP. It is now the only property in North America to be totally self-managed by a Native American community. The riches and proximity to Lake Oasis enabled them to undertake numerous projects while preserving their sacred land. Clarence Louis, chief of the community, is a fervent supporter of the reserve's economy. As usual, he comes to inquire about the harvest.
So that's pretty good.
Justin, how was harvest this year?
Started early, and we had some early stuff come in early September, and it kind of slowed down. Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Noirs came in a bit early, Chardonnay, and from there we had a bit of a lull in between, which was kind of nice. It was a bit of a break. We could get all of our early stuff out of the way.
And the quality of the grapes?
Excellent. I think one of the better vintages we've ever had. I don't know about the best, but I would say it's been great for us. Very, very excellent. Yeah, no, the South Okanagan is very diverse. It was all formed by glaciers at one time. So it's very important to have your big reds growing in the most southern region, which is the warmest region, and growing on the right aspect to the sun. If you're sloped to the sun, you get more heat units that way. So your Cabernet Sauvignon, your Syrah, some Cabernet Franc, Merlot, they all ripen very well. The degrees are 40 degrees in the summer here. White wines can't handle that type of temperature.
It's a nice project back there. There's about 100 units back there. So how many acres of vineyards are here?
Down here in Oasis, right below the winery. And part of the challenges, I guess, of growing in the West Pocket Desert, we're at the tip of the West Pocket Desert, right, which spans all the way from
It's all of that right there.
1,000 acres to the north from here.
The land that's behind us, in fact, all the Oasis Reserve land is sacred and very important to us. As you see behind us here, if this was a non-native ownership, that land behind us would be developed. We have decided to leave some of our very best economic lands in their natural state. For that very reason, we're First Nations people. We're not interested in developing all of our lands. We'll develop some of it, and the rest of it we're going to leave in its natural state because we're First Nations people, and we love seeing land left in its natural state.
Canadians maintain a fusional relationship with their environment, which registers incredible climatic variations, ranging from -31 degrees Fahrenheit in winter to 113 degrees Fahrenheit in summer. 217 miles to the north, the climate changes radically. It produces varieties of vines that are cold-resistant, such as Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. One wine has found its soil of predilection in this region. Ice wine was accidentally discovered at the end of the 18th century by German and Austrian winemakers who pressed frozen grapes. Eric von Krozik passionately cultivates this highly sought-after wine.
I think it was tasting really quite a bit drier, and I think it's fermented. So a lot of people ask, what makes ice wine special? Like, why is it so different, and why is it so expensive? So one of the reasons is we actually have to let the grapes freeze naturally on the vine. So -8, -10, -18. In Canada, we freeze really well here. And I was going to show you some of that. So we've actually frozen a few grapes, just so you can see. So Katie, can you grab me that bag of grapes, the frozen ones? Yeah. So we don't know when the freeze is coming, and we have an immense amount of animal pressure. So there's like deer, there's, oh, thank you. So these are actually white grapes. That's what I wanted to show you. They look like. So the green grapes start turning brown, and they are solid. So you can see that you know, you just can't press them. Like, that is solid ice in there. And if we open them up, you can see that's just ice crystals in there. So anyways, these are just fun, and they're great. They taste actually pretty good, even frozen. But it is a big challenge. The colder it gets, the tougher it gets to actually press them. So sometimes we have to press for 24 hours, sometimes for 48 hours. The colder it gets, the tougher it is to extract the sugar.
The frozen water contained in the fruit is retained in pressing it at 5 degrees Fahrenheit. The juice that flows out is a real concentrate of sugar and aroma.
And the beauty of the ice wine, because it's so concentrated, like we've taken just the essence of the grape, it's so concentrated that it'll keep. You know, these wines can keep, if you change the corks out, they'll keep for 100 years. Like, you have to keep changing the corks. The corks only last like 20, 25 years, but they'll last for a very, very long time. And they're amazing. They're beautiful, beautiful wines.
Started and ready to go.
In his pyramid-shaped shay, Eric von Krozik stores his wine out of sight.
Oh, awesome. Well, that'll be good. Got a big crop in and make a lot of it this year.
Yeah.
Which will be good. So, and I got the crew to set it all up for us, so we're ready to go. That's the one. Beautiful.
It's going to be amazing.
Take the big sample for myself.
Well, you're the lucky guy. Well, that's amazing. Look at that color on that nose.
If it is possible to produce ice wine, it is largely due to the presence of Okanagan Lake. Its impact on winemaking is a blessing for wine growers.
The Okanagan Lake has a huge impact on the whole valley, and depending on where your grapes sit. So we're in the north, and it's very far north here. So that lake moderates the climate here. You can go, there's lots of valleys around here, but only one has the big lake. And that's why most of the grapes, most of the fruit, like peaches and things, grow right here. You can go over a few valleys over, and they'll get minus 35 degrees Celsius, when we're sitting at minus 15 or minus 16. And that's still cold, but it's not killing the grapevines, where, you know, the same European grape varieties sitting over a couple blocks over, a couple valleys over, would be dead. So we're very, very fortunate to have the lake. And the lake is kind of the water source as well, so it really is everything. I would say, you know, as far as a vigneron goes or a grape grower goes, there's one thing that they all have in common, and one thing they can all agree upon, which is the best soil in the world, like the very, 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 very best soil to grow grapes on, is the one you own.
The valley remains a concentration of history and natural treasures, which are scattered around the immense Okanagan Lake. The vine has found its terroir of predilection in one of the most protected places in Canada. In respecting its land and natural benefits, Jean, like all Okanagan growers, perpetuates the tradition of the First Peoples and the adventurers of the valley. He hopes to see his children take over the family vineyard, protecting this little piece of wine-growing paradise.
Okay, all right. Look at that. A big smile. And good food every day.
Down to the well, welcome everybody. I guess a little toast to the season and to everyone's health and wellness. Cheers. Cheers.